Hello and welcome to episode 13 of Faster Than Light Dying with Style. We'll be continuing our adventure in the angry looking Nebula, where we're going to try and avoid the Nebula a little bit actually, as we want to try and find a store as quickly as possible. And we don't want a lone slug called Slocknog on our crew for 55 scrap. I mean, Jesus, 55 scrap? You could buy a decent weapon for that much. So we're going to ignore him. And he's going to be pushy about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take him on board. And as we discussed in previous episodes, when you dismiss a crew member as they have nowhere to go, you eject them out the airlock. So we'll just be ejecting him out the airlock into the dead of space. Because that's what you get when you're pushy. And we don't like slugs. Which is going to lead us into engaging this slug ship, because we don't like slugs. Now, unfortunately, as we are... I thought my sensors were good enough to take this guy on, but we seem to be just on the outskirts of Nebula that doesn't allow us to do that. We're going to be gunning for their weapon systems, hoping that that missile doesn't rupture our hull and blow us to several sad-faced smithereens. I imagine every smithereen my ship's blown into will have a little sad face drawn on it by one of the crew members, desperately clutching to it as they hurtle through space, quickly suffocating. Because you've got to think about these things. But hopefully that won't happen, because we'll disable their weapons. Or at least dodge enough of these missiles to not explode. It doesn't actually help if they do something like that and detonate firebombs in my shield room. Right, well, it looks like we're going to lose one blob of shield, and I think we may have lost one hull to that, but we should be alright as long as we don't get hit by those missiles. And if autofire actually stays on. I was almost sure I toggled it on, but apparently not. And we could do with our Mantis crew member not dying as well. Or any of our crew, really. We could do with them not dying. That would be absolutely lovely. Right, and as we've disabled that big missile launcher, hopefully if we can keep it down, I feel like we kind of have this. But if we can't... No, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to keep that down. This is one of those situations where I feel like I'd be better off running away. But if I run away from every fight, then I'm not actually going to get any scrap to progress in the game at all, and I may as well give up. But in the hopes that we won't have to do that, we're just going to keep firing those burst lasers. Well, that wasn't great, but seemed to have handled it rather quickly. And luckily that last missile missed. Right, well, if we get a few more decent hits with these burst lasers... Not like that. Decent hits where we actually hit their hull, not where we just tap their shields and do what I've said in previous episodes where we just stare longingly at a hull. Yeah, hits like that, hits where we actually take stuff down. Then we'll be doing alright. Now if this ship breaks apart, I'll be... there we go. Hopefully en route to actually conquering this sector, because otherwise we just... I don't seem to have enough in the way of weaponry to really do what I want to do. However, that kill was greatly needed. Now, I can hear that my ship is on fire, so the only logical option is to vent the air from the rooms I can't see, and then do a bit of investigating. Oh, there we are. Well, we found it, so we don't need to do that anymore. We do need to heal these two up. We'll need to heal these two up afterwards, but we'll just shufty our crew around a bit. Apparently Pain and Has-Ifa take equal fire damage. I always thought that slugs would either take more fire damage because they're slimy or less. But apparently they're just as flammable as humans. Maybe it's the clothing that equals the gap, I'm not quite sure. As slugs don't seem to wear any clothing whatsoever. You'd assume that a slug would want some kind of slime suit to keep that all in, though. Oh well, maybe that's just me. Right, well, let's give this sector a good old explore. As we seem to be doing well so far. I say that, and then we encounter this pleasant-looking man. Well, I say man, I meant ship, full of angry-looking mantis and a single NG. Right, well, if we can get rid of that NG, we'll be alright. But if we can't get rid of that NG, then they're just going to repair their systems up too quick for us to have an advantage. Because obviously the disadvantage of... I don't know why I did that. The disadvantage of a mantis is that they are rather easy to squish. Which, you know, is the case with most bugs. So what we're going to do is just let the air out of these rooms so they take a little bit of damage. There we go. Wait for them to get in here, and then it's a nice big ambush. I wish Admiral Akbar was around to announce that for me. But, as he isn't... now, if we're lucky, as I'm aiming for the weapons room, I'll get some decent hits and be able to take out that NG. And then I'll be alright. But then they instantly depower my medbay, and that's very frustrating. But thankfully that one missed, so right there. Now, have I moved... Yes, I've moved my weapons expert away. Which was silly of me. There we go. Just going to redistribute spare crew members around. There we are. Now, annoyingly, these little missiles are going to be wearing me down. Not as much as the bigger missiles ships like this are usually equipped with, but fast enough for me to worry about it. So, what I'm hoping is... Yeah, a decent hit like that has taken them down, so we're alright. What I'm hoping is now they'll be stupid enough to do what they're doing, which is leaving an NG which has 2 times repair just sitting in a room that doesn't need it, while this poor mantis who's got halved repair speeds is desperately trying to repair a system all by himself. But they've been smart there and they've just switched their NG into that room, so that's frustrating. But we've managed to start a fire in that room, so that's a bonus. Now, the only problem is they've powered up a missile, but then they've powered it down to try and power their laser. I actually like when they're trying to power their laser over their missile, because the missile does damage and obviously the laser can't get through the shields. God knows why they have that priority, as the missiles do actually seem to be on their priority 1 and 2. So why they're trying to power this, I have no idea. But 3 more hits and we'll really be on our way to progressing through this sector. I mean, a couple of kills I did not think I'd be able to get with the burst lasers I've got. Flat out, I just didn't think I'd have the shield penetration to outlast weapons like this, but thankfully, as we have managed to take those weapons down. And then we encounter a situation where we completely do no damage there. They manage to power up a missile and we're going to start taking damage now. Yeah, like that. But thankfully that's taken them all the way out. So what we're going to do is, just for speed, we're going to open the airlocks, just let the air drain out rather than damaging crew members and then having them heal up and then going back to their system. We're just going to vent that room completely, close the doors, and then as soon as the oxygen's gone to pinkish rather than reddish, which doesn't seem very kind but is just about breathable air, we'll put them back in there. I can't actually tell, but I think it's faded to pink now. Should be alright. Yeah, they don't appear to be taking damage. There isn't like a taking a small amount of damage and then taking a large amount of damage with the oxygenated rooms. It just seems to be damage or not damage. There is no intermission. Right, so we're not going to spend that just yet. We're going to move on and hope we find some goodies or a shop to spend it in. Right, well, thank goodness we've got a Slugman crew member and hopefully they can win this challenge. So that's got us load more scrap and a burst laser. Now this is brilliant, because having saved that scrap up, usually I just wouldn't be able to power this sort of thing, but right, well, we can't fully power it, but we'll manage to power up a burst laser, power down one of our burst lasers, and upgrade one of our burst lasers by a rank. Now, annoyingly, this is going to charge slightly slower, but I think it fires... I can't remember how many times it fires. I think you can see by going into ship and then your equipment. Yeah, 5 shots, whereas these would be 6 together. So that's 5 shots and then another 3 on this. And obviously if we can get that final couple of power points by God knows how much scrap it would cost us. I think it's something like 190, but if we can get that, then we'll have our pimped out weapon systems and we'll practically be the Millennium Falcon. Now the only problem is if we don't find a store to repair our ship up. Oh, and a lovely fire beam we just flat out don't need, and some extra scrap. Yeah, if we don't find somewhere to repair our ship up, we'll be in real trouble. So what I'm hoping is, if I go into sort of the centre of this zone, it'll give us the most amount of chances to see what's around us. And there'll be a store? Well, not so far. Right, we'll continue on with our fingers crossed, because otherwise... Well, thankfully we're not running into anything that wants to kill us, but there we go, a lovely store. Right, well, if we just get the utterly impossible instant repair, use up all scrap, we're just going to sell that fire beam because we don't really need it. And that leaves us with... I guess buying some fuel so we don't run out. I wish I had somewhere to sell my missiles to, as I don't use them, but... Let's see, how close to we... It's going to take... What we really would like is an ion weapon, just a nice, cheapo, fires quite often to take shields down ion weapon to supplement these two. But unfortunately we're trying to brute force shields right now, and that's not working out too well. So what we're going to do is investigate the south end of this zone, just to see if we can't find something that would suit our needs. Because if we could sell... I don't know what I could sell to get myself an ion weapon, but if we could find... Well, there's an ion bomb. Not exactly what I was hoping for, but again, required power 1, so... I don't think we're going to be able to afford running that burst laser as well. I'm going to buy that ion bomb. And then... I guess I'll just have to start using my missiles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and stealth just launch this into their shield room. Or their helm, whatever. And then use this to blast away weapon systems. Right, and then we're going to explore this little blip. Oh, good. I don't trust these people, so I'm going to decline. And then we've unfortunately encountered the enemy fleet. Which is a real bugger, actually. Because I was hoping to survive this episode without taking too much damage. So what we're going to do... Oh, actually, those weapon systems aren't too scary. Right. I'm going to power up our lasers in that case. And I'm going to aim for their helm. Going to use our spare crew members to deal with this situation. So we'll move our slugmen in here. And then that's pretty much sorted that. And then once this charges up, we'll blast away. Ooh. Didn't expect to actually take too much damage with our crew members there. That's alright. Just heal them up nice and quickly. Right, well, actually that did wear on our shields quite a bit. And we don't seem to be breaching into their hull at all. So yeah, that's not working as planned. Thankfully, I'm not too scared of those lasers, as one's bound to miss. They could possibly do 1 damage to us, or I think they're heavy lasers, so a couple of damage to us. But it's very unlikely that every single hit will actually land. We could just jump away, but I feel like a pansy doing that. Mind you, as we did just take damage there, I think we are going to flee, yet again with our tail between our legs, over to the last stand, which will obviously, either way if it goes, be the last episode. I'm probably going to die. Oh, and I got a nice little achievement for that. And technophobia. Oh, and no one died! That's surprising. Anyway, see you next time.